All right, I want to try an experiment in mentalism. I call it experimentalism. And why this is so interesting for me is because people don't realize there are lots of different types of psychic phenomena. We're going to do an experiment with 3 different types. We're going to do the first one, which is going to be mind reading. Now, mind reading, of course, is you have somebody think of something, and then you concentrate on what they're thinking and write down what their thought is. That's mind reading, which is different than our second experiment. Our second experiment is going to be influence. Now, how influence works is I ask somebody to choose something, and they think they have a free choice. Of course, they don't, because I am psychically sending them a signal of what to choose. This is used a lot in card tricks. You've seen where they say pick a card, and the magician knows what card they pick because they influence their choice. We're not going to do a card trick. We're going to do something different, but that's influence. That's our second experiment. For our third experiment, we're going to do the classic predicting the future. Okay, so I'm going to have somebody think of or I'm going to actually have something happen, and I'm going to predict the outcome of that thing that neither of us could possibly know. So I'm going to predict the future. So, are you ready to get started? Let's do some experimentalism. So how this works is very simple. I'm going to give you this envelope. It's just an empty envelope, and as you can see on the front, it has 3 different lines, and that's where you're going to commit to your choices. I'm going to commit to my choices on pieces of paper, which we're going to place inside the envelope before you ever tell me anything, okay? So everything's going to be fair and square. We're going to go ahead and get started now. I also brought some pens with me, and I should probably point out, this is kind of funny. My son Jackson had some friends come over, and I was showing them this trick, and as a prank, because, you know, when you're 10, being punked is, you know, the funniest thing in the world. What they did was they went around and they switched all the caps so that none of the caps matched the ink. So I was not happy at first, but then I thought, you know what, this is actually really cool because I can make an unconscious choice. We'll get to this later, but it's very interesting. Now we have something that we can make an unconscious choice with. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this red pen with the blue cap. And I'm going to ask you now, our first experiment, as I mentioned, was mind reading. So the way this works is I'm going to ask you to think of something, and then I'm going to look into your mind and write down what you're thinking. So let's see. It has to be something that I couldn't possibly know. So let me ask you, do you have any unusual names in your family maybe, or like maybe or your grandma's middle name or something that I couldn't know ahead of time? Can you think of a name that would be interesting?
Sure.
To concentrate? Okay. So what I want you to just concentrate on the name of your relative or friend or whoever that person is. Okay, have you got it?
I do.
Okay, I want you to just say that over and over in your mind, and I'm going to write down. All right, so I've made a prediction on this piece of paper, and we'll see if it comes true. I'm going to take my prediction, tear it out, and fold it up, and I'm also going to give it a number real quick. So this is, there you go. And would you do me a favor and open up the envelope? And we're just going to slide this right inside the envelope so that I can't possibly change it and nobody can see it. Go ahead and slide it in there. Great. And now, for the first time, would you write down on line 1 the name that you were thinking of? Sylvia. All right, Sylvia. Excellent. All right, let's go to our second experiment. Our second experiment, as I mentioned before, was going to be influence. This is where I influence you through psychic phenomenon to choose exactly what I want you to choose. So we'll do this in a way, we're not going to do a card trick. That's been seen a million times. Instead, I want you to look around the room. Okay, we're here in my living room. There's a million different little objects, big and small. I want you to look around the room and think of one object in the room, something that I wouldn't know that you're going to choose. Have you got something?
Yes.
All right. Now, here's the thing about influence. This is not mind reading. I've already told you what to pick. I'm going to give you an option right now. Would you like to choose a different object? Do you feel like you felt like, oh, wow, that kind of popped in my mind. I think he influenced that. Or do you want to keep the one that you chose?
I'm going to stay with it.
You're going to stay with it. All right. So, of course, I knew you would, and I knew that you wouldn't change your mind because I've influenced this choice. Very simple for me to write down what this one is. Let's see, I'm going to put down, yep, exactly what you've looked at. Very interesting. Okay, stakes are getting bigger. I'm going to put my number on here. Okay, got it. Good. And if you would do me a favor, open up the envelope. We'll slide in that prediction as well. And you can now write down the object that you feel like you had a free choice of. Yes, Jarrett. And Jarrett is, of course, the book here by Jim Steinmeier. A very, very unbelievably fantastic book about one of the greatest thinkers in magic, Jarrett. Of course, you had a free choice of that. I didn't influence you at all. So now for our third experiment. Now comes the big kahuna, predicting the future. Now for this one, I'm not going to ask you to do anything ahead of time. I'm going to do something ahead of time. I'm going to write down what I think will happen in the future. So let me just write here. Okay, and I've made my prediction. And I'm going to hold it one more time, put a number on it real quick here. Okay, there we go. And in it goes to the envelope. Push it in, very good. And now for the first time, if you would do me a favor, oh, I forgot, I have to predict the future. So here's what the future choice is going to be. In the beginning of the trick, I mentioned that my son's friend pranked me and switched all the caps. And at first I was going to put them all back, of course. And then I thought, wait a minute, this is a great opportunity because you can make a conscious choice of one of these colors, but you would never be able to make a conscious choice of the color of the ink because you don't know what the color of the ink is. And you have a free choice of any one of the pens. I want you to just choose one of the pens, and I have predicted the color of ink you will choose. So you've chosen what looks like the green pen, but let's find out what color it actually is. Go ahead and pull it out. So you've chosen the blue ink pen. Would you write down the color of the pen, the color of the ink? Blue. Very good. I'll put the cap back on. I'll switch these around later. So there we go. 3 predictions, 3 different types of mentalism, 3 different types of psychic phenomenon inside my 3 predictions. Numbered 1, 2, and 3. And if you would be so kind as to open up number 1. Or would you like me to? I'll do it for you since
Yes,
you have
please.
the camera in your hand. Number 1, you wrote Sylvia. Before you ever wrote that down, I made a prediction. I said the name you're thinking of will be Sylvia. Number 2, I influenced you. You had a free choice of anything in the room. You decided on one book, and one book of many books on my bookshelf. You said Jarrett. Before you ever wrote that down or told anybody, I made a prediction. I put it in the envelope. It's been there the whole time. I said you would choose Jarrett. And finally, for the third amazing mental prediction, I predicted the future. I wrote down that you would choose one of the colors of ink in the pens, but you didn't even know you were going to choose a pen, let alone know which color it was going to be. I made my prediction. I said that you will choose blue, and you wrote blue. And that is experimentalism. 3 different kinds of psychic phenomenon, all of them amazing, and all of them delivered especially for you. Thanks for helping.